What if I told you that right now, inside your body, tiny clusters of cancer cells may already exist? That sounds alarming, but here's the truth most people don't realize. Every single day, your body forms abnormal cells. In fact, it's a completely normal biological process. Your DNA replicates billions of times daily, and sometimes mistakes happen. But in a healthy body, these abnormal cells are usually detected and destroyed by your immune system long before they become dangerous. So the real question is not, do cancer cells appear in the body? The real question is, why do some of them grow while others disappear? Here's what's really going on inside your body. Cancer cannot grow beyond the size of a tiny pinhead unless it builds its own blood supply. This process is called angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. Without those blood vessels delivering oxygen and nutrients, tumors literally cannot survive or expand. Think of it like building a city. A tumor is like a small village trying to expand into a massive metropolis. But for that to happen, it needs highways, power lines, and supply chains. In biology, those supply lines are blood vessels. And here's where things become fascinating. Your body already has a natural defense system designed to control angiogenesis. It constantly balances signals that either grow blood vessels or shut them down. When that balance works correctly, dangerous cells are starved and eliminated. But when the balance breaks because of inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, poor diet, or excess visceral fat, tumors can hijack those blood vessel signals and begin to grow. Now here's the empowering part. Research from scientists like William Li has shown that certain foods contain natural compounds that block tumor blood supply, strengthen immune defenses, and protect your DNA. In other words, some foods can actually help your body starve cancer before it starts, not through extreme diets, not through complicated biohacking, but through simple foods you can start eating this week. Today, we're going to break down 3 powerful foods that research shows can help fight cancer at the cellular level by targeting inflammation, angiogenesis, and metabolic health. And more importantly, I'll show you exactly how and when to eat them so your body can activate its own anti-cancer defenses. Because preventing disease is not just about avoiding harmful things. It's about actively feeding your biology the tools it needs to defend itself. And once you understand how this works, you'll never look at food the same way again. If this kind of science-based health breakdown is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day to help you optimize your metabolism, energy, and long-term health naturally. Now, before we dive into the 3 foods themselves, let's quickly look at 6 powerful scientific insights that explain why these foods work in the first place. Let's start with the first food, and this one surprises a lot of people. It's not exotic, it's not expensive. In fact, millions of people drink it every day. I'm talking about green tea. Now, at first glance, green tea might seem like just another healthy beverage. But when scientists began studying it more closely, they discovered something remarkable. Green tea contains a powerful plant compound called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, and this compound has been shown to influence one of the most important cancer defense systems in the body, angiogenesis. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a tumor as a small campfire. If that fire stays tiny, it eventually burns out. But if someone keeps bringing it fuel, wood, oxygen, airflow, it grows into a wildfire. In the body, blood vessels are that fuel. They deliver oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and growth signals that allow tumors to expand. What researchers discovered is that EGCG in green tea can interfere with the signals tumors use to build those blood vessels. In other words, green tea helps cut off the supply lines. Scientists studying angiogenesis, including work led by William Li, have shown that certain foods can help regulate this process naturally, and green tea is one of the most studied examples. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When abnormal cells attempt to grow, they release chemical signals that stimulate blood vessel formation. These signals activate growth factors that encourage nearby vessels to branch out toward the tumor. But EGCG helps block those signals. It interferes with vascular growth pathways and reduces the ability of abnormal cells to recruit new blood vessels. And when the tumor can't build its supply network, it struggles to survive. But that's not the only benefit. Green tea also helps reduce oxidative stress, which is one of the major drivers of DNA damage and chronic inflammation. Think of oxidative stress like biological rust, slowly damaging your cells over time. Antioxidants in green tea help neutralize those damaging molecules before they can harm your DNA. And this matters because DNA damage is one of the earliest steps in cancer development. Now, here's where we move from theory to practical application, because how you consume green tea actually affects its benefits. First, timing matters. Drinking green tea between meals allows the polyphenols to absorb more effectively without interference from heavy digestion. Second, temperature matters. Very hot water can sometimes degrade delicate plant compounds. Ideally, steep green tea at around 70, 80 to 160, 175 for about 3 minutes. Third, consistency matters more than quantity. Research suggests that 2 to 4 cups per day provides meaningful levels of EGCG. That doesn't mean you need to drink it all at once. Spreading it throughout the day helps maintain stable levels of these protective compounds. You can think of it like giving your body small, consistent doses of defense. And there's another metabolic benefit worth mentioning. Green tea can also improve insulin sensitivity, helping stabilize blood sugar and reduce metabolic conditions that create a pro-cancer environment. Remember earlier, we talked about how cancer cells depend heavily on glucose? By improving metabolic control, green tea helps make the body less hospitable to abnormal cell growth. So when you combine all of these effects, anti-angiogenesis, antioxidant protection, and metabolic support, you start to see why this simple beverage is so powerful. And the best part? It's one of the easiest changes you can make. If this breakdown is helpful so far, consider subscribing to the channel. I share science-based strategies like this every day to help you optimize your metabolism and long-term health naturally. Now let's move to the second food, one that works through a completely different mechanism. Instead of blocking blood vessels, this next food helps activate the immune system's ability to detect and destroy abnormal cells. And once you understand how it works, you may want to start eating it much more often. Now let's move to the second food group. And this one works through a completely different biological pathway. Instead of targeting blood vessel growth like green tea, this group of foods strengthens your body's detoxification and DNA protection systems. I'm talking about cruciferous vegetables. This includes foods like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. At first glance, these might just look like ordinary vegetables, but biochemically, they contain one of the most powerful anti-cancer compounds found in nature. That compound is sulforaphane. Now here's what's really going on inside your body when you eat cruciferous vegetables. Your liver operates like a two-phase detoxification factory. Phase 1 breaks down toxins into intermediate compounds. Phase 2 then neutralizes and eliminates those toxins from the body. The problem is that many environmental toxins, including pollutants, pesticides, and carcinogens, can overwhelm this detox system. When detoxification becomes inefficient, harmful compounds linger longer in the body and increase the risk of DNA damage and mutation. Sulforaphane helps solve this problem. It activates a master protective pathway known as NRF2 pathway. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your cells as a city. Inside that city are emergency response teams, firefighters, repair crews, and cleanup workers. The NRF2 pathway acts like the emergency alarm system that activates those crews when damage occurs. Sulforaphane flips that switch. Once activated, the body increases production of protective enzymes that neutralize carcinogens, repair oxidative damage, support DNA stability, reduce chronic inflammation. In other words, cruciferous vegetables turn on your internal defense system, and this has been studied extensively. Researchers have found that sulforaphane can help reduce inflammatory signaling, support detoxification enzymes, and improve cellular resilience against environmental toxins. But here's something most people don't know: how you prepare these vegetables matters. Sulforaphane forms when a plant compound called glucoraphanin interacts with an enzyme called myrosinase. This reaction happens when the vegetable is cut, chopped, or chewed. But excessive heat can destroy the enzyme. So if broccoli is overcooked, you may lose much of its protective potential. A better strategy is to lightly steam cruciferous vegetables for 3 to 4 minutes. This softens the plant fibers while preserving the enzymes needed to form sulforaphane. Another option is to chop the vegetables and let them sit for about 10 minutes before cooking. This allows sulforaphane to form before heat is applied. There's also a powerful food pairing trick. Adding mustard seeds or mustard powder can restore the enzyme activity and increase sulforaphane production even after cooking. Now let's talk about frequency. Instead of eating large amounts occasionally, aim for 1 serving of cruciferous vegetables most days of the week. Consistency matters more than volume. Think of it as giving your detox system daily support rather than occasional bursts of protection. And here's another important benefit. Cruciferous vegetables also support estrogen metabolism, which can play a role in hormone-related cancers. By helping the liver process hormones more efficiently, these vegetables contribute to better hormonal balance, another factor that influences long-term cancer risk. So when you combine detox support, DNA protection, inflammation control, and hormonal balance, it becomes clear why cruciferous vegetables are considered one of the most powerful anti-cancer food groups. But we're not done yet. The third food we're about to discuss may be the most fascinating of all because it works directly with your immune system and gut microbiome, 2 systems that play a major role in cancer prevention. And the research behind it might completely change how you think about everyday fruits. Now let's talk about the third food. And this one works through a powerful combination of immune activation, inflammation control, and DNA protection. I'm talking about berries. Foods like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. These small fruits may look simple, but they are loaded with bioactive compounds that help protect your cells from some of the earliest steps in cancer development. The key compounds here are anthocyanins. These are the deep red, blue, and purple pigments that give berries their vibrant color. But they're not just pigments, they function as powerful cellular protectors. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every day your cells are exposed to oxidative stress, unstable molecules called free radicals that can damage DNA, proteins, and cell membranes. Over time, this damage accumulates and can trigger mutations that increase cancer risk. Anthocyanins help neutralize these free radicals before they damage your cells. Think of them like rust protection for your biology. Just as protective coatings prevent metal from corroding, antioxidants help protect your cells from oxidative wear and tear. But berries do something even more interesting. They help strengthen immune surveillance, the process where immune cells constantly patrol the body looking for abnormal or damaged cells. Specialized immune cells such as natural killer cells and cytotoxic T cells act like the body's internal security system. When these immune cells detect abnormal behavior in a cell, such as DNA damage or uncontrolled growth signals, they trigger that cell to self-destruct. But chronic inflammation, poor sleep, metabolic dysfunction, and nutrient deficiencies can weaken this system. Berries help counteract that. Research has shown that berry polyphenols can reduce inflammatory signaling and support immune cell activity, helping the body maintain better surveillance against abnormal cells. Now here's another fascinating mechanism. Berries also support the gut microbiome. Inside your digestive system live trillions of bacteria that regulate inflammation, immune function, and metabolic signaling. When beneficial bacteria break down berry polyphenols, they produce compounds that further strengthen immune communication throughout the body. So berries don't just work directly, they also feed the microbes that protect you. And that connection between gut health and cancer prevention is becoming one of the most exciting areas of research in modern medicine. Now let's make this practical, because how you eat berries matters. First, whole berries are better than juice. Juicing removes the fiber that slows sugar absorption and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Second, frozen berries are just as beneficial as fresh ones. In fact, freezing often preserves antioxidant compounds very well. Third, portion control matters. A good daily target is about 1 cup of mixed berries. That amount provides a meaningful dose of polyphenols without overwhelming your metabolism with excess sugar. You can add them to plain yogurt, oatmeal, smoothies, salads, or simply eat them as a snack. The goal is regular exposure to protective compounds, not occasional large servings. And when you combine berries with the other foods we've discussed, green tea, and cruciferous vegetables, something powerful happens. You begin supporting multiple anti-cancer defense systems at the same time. You're reducing inflammation, you're protecting DNA, you're supporting immune detection, and you're influencing the biological pathways that tumors depend on. If this kind of science-based breakdown is helping you see food differently, consider subscribing. Every day, I share practical strategies to help you improve metabolism, energy, and long-term health naturally. Now, before we finish, let's step back and connect the dots. Because the real power of these foods isn't just in eating them individually. It's in understanding how they work together to support your body's natural cancer defense systems. Now that we've explored the three foods individually, green tea, broccoli, and other cruciferous vegetables, and antioxidant-rich blueberries and other berries, it's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. Because the real power of these foods is not just in what each one does individually, but how they work together inside your body. Here's what's really going on inside your biology. Your body doesn't rely on a single defense system against cancer. It uses multiple overlapping protection layers, almost like a sophisticated security network. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine protecting a large building. You wouldn't rely on just one security measure. Instead, you would have surveillance cameras. Locked doors, security guards, alarm systems, fire protection. Each system works together to reduce risk. Your body works the same way. Cancer prevention depends on several biological defenses operating simultaneously, and these foods support those defenses in different but complementary ways. First, let's talk about angiogenesis control. The compounds in green tea, especially epigallocatechin gallate, help regulate the growth of blood vessels through the process known as angiogenesis. Remember, earlier we discussed how tumors must build their own blood supply in order to grow. By interfering with those signals, green tea helps limit the ability of abnormal cells to build those nutrient highways. So that's one defense layer. Next comes cellular detoxification and DNA protection, supported by cruciferous vegetables. When you eat foods like broccoli or kale, your body produces sulforaphane. This compound activates the NRF2 pathway, which triggers a cascade of protective enzymes. Those enzymes help neutralize carcinogens, repair oxidative damage, support detoxification, stabilize DNA. In other words, these vegetables help strengthen the cellular repair crews that keep your biology functioning properly. Then we add the third layer, immune system support. Berries provide high concentrations of anthocyanins, which reduce inflammation and help strengthen immune surveillance. Your immune system constantly scans the body for abnormal cells. When it detects one, specialized immune cells can trigger that cell to self-destruct before it becomes dangerous. But inflammation, stress, metabolic dysfunction, and poor nutrition weaken this process. Berry polyphenols help restore balance, improving the communication between immune cells and damaged tissues. So when you combine all three foods, you're supporting three major anti-cancer systems simultaneously. Cutting off tumor blood supply, protecting and repairing DNA, strengthening immune detection. And there's another important piece of the puzzle. All three foods also help reduce chronic inflammation, which is one of the most important drivers of long-term disease risk. Inflammation creates an environment where abnormal cells survive longer, mutations accumulate, and immune defenses become less effective. Reducing inflammation helps restore the body's natural balance. That's why many researchers, including work from William Li, emphasize the concept of food as biological defense. Not as medicine in the traditional sense, but as information for your cells. Every time you eat, you send signals to your metabolism, your immune system, and your cellular repair networks. And those signals influence whether your body becomes more resilient or more vulnerable. So the real takeaway here isn't just about adding three foods. It's about understanding how simple dietary patterns can strengthen the body's natural defense systems. Now let's translate all of this science into something even more practical. A simple daily protocol you can start using immediately to support these protective pathways. Now that we understand the science behind these foods, the next logical question becomes very practical. How do you actually use them in daily life? because knowledge only becomes powerful when it turns into consistent habits. And the good news is that supporting your body's natural defense systems does not require extreme diets or complicated routines. It simply requires strategic consistency. Let's walk through a simple daily protocol that incorporates the three foods we've discussed: green tea, cruciferous vegetables, and antioxidant-rich berries like blueberries. Think of this as a metabolic support routine rather than a rigid diet plan, because the goal is to create a biological environment where abnormal cells struggle to survive. First, let's start with the morning. When you wake up, your body is transitioning out of an overnight fast. During this time, your metabolism is highly responsive to signals that influence inflammation, insulin sensitivity, and cellular repair. A great place to begin is with a cup of green tea. As we discussed earlier, green tea contains epigallocatechin gallate, which helps regulate angiogenesis and reduce oxidative stress. Drinking green tea in the morning provides your body with a gentle dose of polyphenols that support metabolic stability and cellular protection. And remember, temperature matters. Steep the tea for about 3 minutes using warm water, not boiling, to preserve the delicate plant compounds. Many people find that 2 to 4 cups spread throughout the day provides a steady supply of protective antioxidants. Next comes breakfast or your first meal of the day. This is a perfect opportunity to include berries. Adding strawberries, raspberries, or blackberries to yogurt, oatmeal, or a smoothie provides a concentrated dose of anthocyanins. These compounds help protect DNA, reduce inflammation, and support immune signaling. Another advantage of berries is their low glycemic impact. Compared to many fruits, berries cause a smaller rise in blood sugar, which helps maintain metabolic stability throughout the day. Remember earlier we discussed how cancer cells often depend heavily on glucose metabolism. Keeping blood sugar stable helps create a metabolic environment where abnormal cells have less fuel available for rapid growth. Now let's talk about lunch or dinner. This is where cruciferous vegetables become extremely powerful. Including foods like broccoli, cauliflower, or Brussels sprouts provides your body with sulforaphane. As we discussed earlier, sulforaphane activates the NRF2 pathway, which increases production of detoxification enzymes. This process helps neutralize harmful compounds and protect cellular DNA. To maximize sulforaphane formation, lightly steam these vegetables for 3 to 4 minutes, or chop them and allow them to sit for several minutes before cooking. This simple step activates the enzymes needed to produce protective compounds. Now, let's connect all of this together. A simple daily routine might look like this. Morning, 1 cup of green tea. First meal, yogurt or oatmeal with 1 cup of mixed berries. Lunch or dinner, 1 serving of cruciferous vegetables. Afternoon, another cup of green tea. Evening, optional additional serving of green tea or vegetables. Notice something important here. This isn't about restriction, it's about strategic addition. By regularly consuming these foods, you provide your body with compounds that support multiple defense systems, angiogenesis control, immune surveillance, detoxification, and inflammation regulation. And when those systems function properly, your body becomes far more resilient. Now, in the final section, we're going to bring all of these ideas together and talk about the most important takeaway from this entire discussion: the mindset shift that can transform how you think about food and long-term health. Now, let's zoom out for a moment, because the most important lesson from everything we've discussed today is not just about 3 specific foods. It's about understanding a much bigger idea. Food is not just fuel. Food is biological information. Every time you eat, you send signals into your metabolism, your immune system, your hormones, and even your DNA repair systems. And those signals influence whether your internal environment becomes more protective or more vulnerable. Researchers like William Li often describe this concept as activating the body's health defense systems. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your body as a highly advanced city. Inside this city are multiple protective systems working around the clock. Your immune defense, your detoxification systems, your DNA repair mechanisms, your metabolic regulation, your inflammation control networks. When these systems work together efficiently, the body becomes remarkably resilient. Small abnormalities are corrected quickly. Damaged cells are removed. Inflammation resolves properly. But when lifestyle factors disrupt these systems, things like chronic stress, poor sleep, excess sugar, processed food, and metabolic dysfunction, the balance shifts. Inflammation increases, Hormones become dysregulated, DNA repair slows down, and that's when disease risk begins to rise. Here's what's really empowering. Certain foods contain compounds that support multiple defense systems simultaneously. For example, green tea helps regulate angiogenesis, potentially limiting abnormal blood vessel growth that tumors rely on. Cruciferous vegetables activate detoxification pathways through compounds like sulforaphane, strengthening cellular protection. And berries like blackberries and raspberries provide powerful anthocyanins that reduce oxidative stress and support immune surveillance. When these foods become part of a consistent routine, something important happens. You begin shifting the biological environment of your body. Inflammation gradually decreases, detoxification improves, immune communication becomes stronger, and metabolic stability improves. All of these changes create conditions where abnormal cells have less opportunity to grow and spread. But there's another key concept worth understanding. Consistency matters far more than perfection. Your body doesn't need you to eat perfectly every single day. What it needs is regular exposure to protective compounds over time. Think of it like reinforcing a wall. Each healthy meal adds another layer of strength. Over weeks and months, those layers build resilience, and this is one reason traditional dietary patterns, like Mediterranean-style diets, rich in vegetables, fruits, teas, herbs, and healthy fats, are associated with lower rates of chronic disease. They consistently provide the body with protective nutrients, so instead of thinking about food as something you must restrict or avoid, it can be helpful to shift your mindset. Ask a different question. Instead of asking, "What should I eliminate from my diet?" start asking, "What protective foods can I add more consistently?" That single mindset shift can transform the way you approach nutrition and long-term health. Now let's bring everything together and summarize the key insights from today's discussion. And most importantly, talk about the one action you can start today to begin supporting your body's natural defenses. So let's bring everything together. At the beginning of this discussion, we asked a powerful question. Why do some abnormal cells in the body disappear while others grow into dangerous disease? And the answer comes down to something incredibly important. Your body already has multiple built-in defense systems designed to protect you. These systems regulate inflammation, repair DNA damage, control blood vessel growth, and allow your immune system to identify and remove abnormal cells before they become dangerous. Researchers like William Li have shown that the foods we eat can directly influence these protective mechanisms. In other words, food doesn't just provide calories. Food provides instructions for your biology. Today, we explored 3 simple foods that support these natural defenses. First, green tea. Its key compound, epigallocatechin gallate, helps regulate angiogenesis, the process tumors rely on to build their blood supply. By helping control this pathway, green tea can make it harder for abnormal cells to expand. Second, we discussed cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, kale, and Brussels sprouts. If you found this video helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing. Join a growing community of people who are learning how to support their metabolism, energy, and longevity naturally. And remember, the most powerful medicine may not always come from a pharmacy. Sometimes it starts right on your plate.